Well, I am going to turn it over to Trish Kolterman. She is actually the advisor for Ada Pi chapter at Wayne State College in Nebraska. Trish, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, well, thanks, Heather, and welcome to everyone. Glad that you have time to join us today. And so if you're on the East Coast and it's noon, feel free to be eating your lunch. Doesn't bother me at all. For the rest of us, I know it's here in the morning, so if you got that cup of joe, or in case of my students, you got the Monster Energy drink, pop a can and let's sit down and have a nice discussion. So we're going to be looking at a few things today, just to kind of introduce y'all to us. Hopefully y'all can see my screen. Is that true? Everybody's good on the screen share? Yes, awesome. Okay, so this outstanding group of people that you're seeing on the screen is the Wayne State College Eta Pi group. The ones in front are members, and the ones in back, this is actually a before picture from the volleyball tournament that they had a couple weeks ago. This was their fundraising event. And I'm proud to say that none of us broke any bones. We all lived. The students had a great time. What should I say? They enjoyed spiking the ball for some odd reason towards the professors and the professional staff. They found that to be a lot of fun. It got to the point where I was begging them not to hit me, and they were saying, I'm sorry, when the ball actually came my direction, because as you can tell, I was the oldest one out there. However, I wanted to bring this in for a couple of reasons. I'm not sure where you guys are at as far as if you're still doing virtual or if you have gone back to on campus. So I don't know, can I kind of see like a survey for those who are, let's say you're on campus full time. Can you give me a thumbs up or give me a little emoji that tells me yes? Yes, everybody's kind of back. Okay. All right, looks good. So what we've discovered here at Wayne State, and maybe you've discovered the same thing happening at the colleges you're at, we've been in virtual world since March of 2020, and now all of a sudden we're transitioning back to face-to-face. And the thing we've noticed with our students is in that year and a half or 2 years that it's been, that they're having somewhat of some challenges reconnecting and getting re-energized with the chapter. And for us, this particular volleyball tournament was a way for us to start that rebuilding, reconnecting process. Because it was a team thing. We've got a couple students that played on our team. They got to interact with the faculty and building those new relationships, building those connections. For our particular chapter, we had roughly 30 students, and in May, 12 of them graduated. So we have basically a brand new chapter who has never been to a lead. They've, in a lot of instances, this fall is the first time they've been back on campus, rejoining with each other. So we've really started focusing on essentially starting over from scratch, starting this chapter anew, because they don't know rituals, they don't know the hub, they don't understand completely what Delta Sig is because they haven't had that on-campus experience. As you guys are looking at doing your chapter activities, one thing I want to encourage you is, like with this volleyball tournament, it got to mark off a lot of things for us. So this was a fundraising event. It also was a community event because they did it with Student Senate. So we had 2 clubs hosting it. Plus, then they did a can drive as part of the entry fee requirements. So that took care of a community service event. So it essentially took care of 3 events for our chapter, towards our chapter accreditation and chapter of excellence type program. And I encourage you guys, as you're starting, to maybe consider events that can knock out 2 or more different types of requirements. So we found that to be really helpful this year. Okay, so we've kind of did a few introductions. Again, this is our group. Aren't they outstanding? We were all dressed in black, so we all look skinny. That was important to me that we were all in black, so I look skinny. But if you would, I've got some of you that I've met. I know we've got, looks like 19 people with us. if you guys would just want to maybe share, a few of you would want to share maybe your best chapter experience that you've had, or maybe talk about one goal that you guys have for your chapters in this upcoming year, just to kind of get us started and see where we're going.
I'll go first. I'm Alicia Harper. I'm with Kappa Psi at Bellarmine University. And I think one of the best chapter experiences we had was an event that we used to do. We called it Dress for Success. And so we used to do a little fashion show. And then, you know, people would bring in, they would donate money or donate clothing, excuse me. And then we would take that clothing to the Dress for Success nonprofit.
Cool, cool, awesome. So you were able to do kind of a community service event with your Dress for Success. That's awesome.
Yes, and it was a great opportunity for our business students to come in and, you know, see what you should and sometimes what you shouldn't do, right? Then what you shouldn't do was always kind of the funniest and fun part of it. So that, you know, the kids would wear ripped jeans or holey shirts or something like that to, you know, they were going in for a job interview. So that was a lot of fun.
Cool, awesome. That sounds like a great plan. Great event. Good. Others.
Next, I'll go next. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
My name is Amy McFarland, and I'm at the University of Arizona, and I think one of our most recent best experiences was one of our brothers becoming Collegiate of the Year. Brennan Fetter belongs to us, and we couldn't be more proud of him and more sad that he has now graduated. So. I think that has really set the bar for the rest of the brothers and the chapter as a whole to just kind of get involved. And I mean, the bar is, you know, up in Mars, I think, right now because of Brennan's accomplishments. But anyway, might as well have a high bar if you're going to have one, right? So I'm excited to be here. It's nice to meet all of you.
Congratulations. That is outstanding. And for those that are maybe new in terms of being chapter advisors, that COI or the Collegian of the Year, please remember that application, or excuse me, nomination, that needs to be submitted by, I think it's Friday, October 15th. So if your chapter hasn't nominated someone, maybe at their upcoming meeting, if they're having a meeting this week, or get on group chat, try to get somebody nominated for that, because that is due October 15th, and then there's an application process involved with that. And I believe they're hosting a webinar for those that have been nominated by their chapters, so to help them go through that whole application process. Do you have anything to add to that, Heather, in terms of COI?
So you are correct. The nominations are due in the hub October 15th. So I guess that's Friday. It's coming up. Yeah, Friday. And then the webinar that Trish is referring to is on October 21st. So that's for COI nominees. There will probably be additional information going out about that to those individuals. And then the applications are due November 15th. So anybody who is nominated will receive details as to where to get that. And I know Brennan is probably more than welcome to assist anyone. So reach out to him.
Yeah. And so I quickly pulled up on my screen. Hopefully you can see it. This is what our hub looks like if you haven't been to the hub. And I'll be talking about this a little more later on, but as a chapter advisor, and again, for people that are new in terms of advising, the hub is your friend as far as being able to tell what the chapter has submitted. So I can kind of see on this if they've submitted their meeting minutes, and I can see, like for right here, they have nominated the Collegian of the Year and got that submitted. And it just really helps me kind of keep track of what they're doing. Now, I expect them to take care of it themselves, but every so often they do need gentle reminders. Yeah, and we'll be talking about the hub more in here in just a second, but I wanted you guys to see that as a helpful resource. Okay, let's hear from one more person. If we got another brave soul out there.
I'll go. So Richard from Oklahoma State, and I am brand new to Delta Epsilon. Delta Sigma Pi. We're Gamma Epsilon is our chapter. Sorry. Started just in April, and we were 100% virtual. And now we are have their chapter meetings face to face with a virtual option. And I got to say, I got a really good crew of the executive leadership, especially, and they're real disciplined. And I'm very impressed with their professionalism.
Yay, good job. Well, welcome aboard. Well, we're glad to have you. Okay, so I kind of broke this down into 4 different areas to kind of get us going and talking about. This transition has tended to be a big topic that I've heard from like the district director meeting that I attended last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. And just in visiting with other chapter advisors, this tends to be kind of the 4 areas I was hearing. That in terms of making that transition, in terms of meetings where we're transitioning from Zoom to in-person, actual events, rituals, and our Delta Sigma Pi culture that we want to instill in our chapters. So in terms of meetings, does everybody have one of those gold books? Let me grab mine so you can see it. Put it up there. I don't know if you can see where. Nope. It's a gold book, looks like so. This is the ritual book. If you don't have one, I encourage you to order one and get one from Delta Sigma Pi. Your chapter should provide you with one, or you should be able to have one. And within it, it has the information, or I should say the rituals. And since we're recording, I'm not sure I want to go into that. And right, that's like a no-no. I think that's a no-no. I'm not supposed to do that over Zoom. But anyway, get that book and it tells you step by step, it gives you everything they're supposed to do in a formal meeting. And the thing I discovered with our group was the first 3 meetings of this semester, they were still in Zoom mode meeting, even though we were in person, they were still being informal. And I said, okay, we have got to stop that. We have got to get back to the book. So now we're back to the book and we're doing everything step by step as outlined in the book for regular formal meetings. And that's really started to elevate our professionalism in our in-person meetings. Also, Robert's Rules of Order. I think in Zoom, it's a little more difficult to enforce that. However, once we're now back in person, suddenly everybody was like talking at the same time and the chancellor was losing control and we weren't having formal motions. It was all kind of like a big group chat and it was a real mess. And so we've gone back to Robert's Rules of Order. We've gone back to those motions again, just to solidify this up, to reestablish what's expected in these meetings in terms of professionalism. And then to respect the process. They were tending to go off script. They were tending to do new business mixed in with old business. They weren't following a particular order. Like we have a standard order of who reports when, so we go down the list. And it was just kind of a hodgepodge those first 3 meetings. And so we're working again on respecting the process and respecting each other. The other thing I noticed in the first 3 meetings was we have, like vice president of operations, socials, all those vice presidents. And the first 3 meetings, again, this is 3 weeks, we meet every Tuesday night. I was hearing no report. So essentially out of the entire group, nobody had done anything or they didn't want to report anything. And so again, as the advisor, I stepped in and I said, okay, I expect to hear a report from each of you at the next meeting, just to get that accountability brought up. And I will say, and I know this kind of sounds like I'm being very professorly here and I'm being very setting high expectations for them, but I've never had to do that before. So I've been involved with Delta SIGs. This is my 5th year with Delta SIGs. All my previous groups were very self-sufficient and taking care of themselves. But this group And I don't know if it's because of going through this pandemic and the transitions weren't as good, or not knowing what's to be expected in the in-person. They're really requiring more hand-holding on my part. And ideally, I would like to be able to help them through this first semester and then let them run from here on, to get them to do stuff on their own. I got really spoiled by my first 4 presidents. They just took care of everything, and I just showed up occasionally and said, hey, good job. This group, not so much. And then attendance issues. We've had a lot of issues where people, again, have gotten used to Zoom, and this idea of showing up on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock has been a real change for them and a transition issue for them. And so again, they just decided as a group that they need to be there and to show up. Okay. In terms of events, these are events that we do: recruiting, fundraising, community service, and professional. I don't know about y'all, but our recruiting this year was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. And I hate to say that, and I know it's recorded, but in all transparency and all honesty, we had a hard time recruiting this year. And again, it seemed to be that these students had gotten so used to the Zoom and being on the phone that in-person, one-on-one communication of talking with people was really not happening. The other thing we discovered was that everybody was trying to organize stuff through group chats. And guess what? Wasn't working, because nobody knew where they were supposed to be and what they were supposed to be doing. So we got through recruiting, it didn't work. We got to this fundraising with the volleyball that I had on the first screen. And what we did in the meeting is, again, I was there and I virtually said, we have to go back to old school. And what we did was we put all the different assignments or activities that were involved in that fundraiser for the volleyball. We put down each responsibility up on the whiteboard. And then we said, okay, who can take care of that responsibility? And they had to go up and sign their name under that responsibility on the whiteboard. So by the time we got done, we had all the requirements up on the whiteboard. We had every person who's going to do that requirement up on the whiteboard. And then everybody took pictures of it. And it was amazing. Once they saw how to do a planning in an organization, and everybody was suddenly like accountable because everybody had a picture of it, and you're supposed to be doing this. The fundraiser was a phenomenal success. I mean, everybody showed up, everybody did their part, the fundraiser made money, they all had a good time, but it was that initial planning and organizing that they just couldn't get their heads wrapped around. So I encourage you, if you're having problems like that, maybe just that old-fashioned whiteboard is the way to go, because it seemed like my students were trying to do everything through group chat, and then consequently nobody knew what was going on. So as I told you earlier, I'm old. We went back to old school for that one. Community service, we actually did an in-class deal that was online, where we did some mapping for Google for third world countries. That worked out pretty cool for them. So online stuff works good for that. And in terms of professional, I'm still having a little bit of problems with that one, because our particular vice president of that, again, never done it before, doesn't know who to ask. So every week I've been saying, who's coming in? Have you talked to him? So forth and so on. So tonight we have a professional coming in, and he'll take care of both our risk management requirement as well as the professional meeting requirement. So again, doing 2 things at once. In terms of rituals, this is brand new for all my brothers, because most of them have done them all virtual. They've never done an in-person, so we'll be doing our first in-person rituals this fall. We are working closely with our district director. So if you haven't met your district director, you need to connect with your district director, because they are a great resource for helping you with these rituals. We're combining with the University of South Dakota. They're out of Vermillion. They're actually coming down. So we're doing 2 chapters at once with our pledge initiation ceremony. And again, that gold book is your friend. Make sure you have one of those. For our chapter, we always want them to memorize it, because again, we're going for chapter of excellence. And so they've already started having practices. So they memorize all those ritual parts for our initiation ceremony, which will be in November. So start that process early so you can get that chapter of excellence. And then in terms of culture, we've really challenging our brothers this year to improve their professionalism, to raise that back up. It just seems like with Zoom and with the virtual environment, we got pretty lax, pretty laid back. And then understanding what brotherhood is. Again, they're coming together for the first time. And so we're doing a lot of socials, so they develop those bonds outside of our meetings. We've got, I think this particular group has been exceptionally good at socials. I think we've already had 3 this semester. And so socials are everything from going to Dairy Queen to, they went over to Sioux City and did axe throwing and whatever socials they enjoy. I never get involved with them. I always let them do their own socials. But that tends to be great for the brotherhood. Setting goals together, making sure everybody's on the same page. Communication. Again, I encourage my students to stop by my office. I have open door communication with them. They all have my email. I do give my cell phone to my exec team. So if there's something they want to talk to me or text me, because they love to text, I am involved with that. Our district director is in their group chat and also with them on Facebook. And so we try to connect with them in whatever communication venue they prefer. And then just trying to re-energize the chapter, getting them excited again about being in Delta SIGs so that they can take that energy next spring and hopefully improve their recruiting process. All right, so I know you guys are tired of hearing me profess, and this is a roundtable. So here's our next discussion. So if you guys want to jump in and maybe share out of any of these different areas, something that's working for you, or maybe something you've noticed in any of these 4 areas, or if you're having a problem in any of these 4 areas and you want somebody to maybe bounce some ideas off of, this would be a great time to visit. So there's our discussion question or item. So again, this is a free forum. Feel free to jump in and say what you got to say.
So I have a question. This is Sean Hansen. I'm in the Epsilon Lambda chapter at Rochester Institute of Technology. Based on this discussion, it seems pretty clear to me that you are much more actively engaged with your chapter than I am with my chapter. And so you sort of, I'm sort of bearing my apprehensions here because in our chapter, I think the students have largely, the brothers have largely run most of this activity. And I guess the question is, do I need to be concerned about that? And does anyone else have a similar experience to me?
So yeah, that's a great point. And a lot of chapter advisors that I talk with, a lot of them prefer maybe only to pop in once a month and check on their chapters, or just check in via email to see what's going on. And that is perfectly fine. If that's working for your chapter, we're all good with that. Wayne State College, where I'm at, our total population of students is around 4,000. Our School of Business has 800, and then our Delta SIGs have about 30. I tend to be more of a hands-on advisor, simply because, one, I enjoy getting to know the students outside of the classroom. I actually have fun with this. I don't know about you all, but I teach business stats, which most of the time when I say business stats, everybody gets this really bad, ugly looking face, and they have these bad flashbacks to something that happened in stats. So I enjoy the opportunity to connect with the students at this level in a more informal situation. And for me, it's a lot of fun. But I totally get your schedules are totally crazy with being professors or faculty. And if once a month works great for you, that's totally fine. Does that help, or does that scare you yet?
It helps. It gives me a feel. I'm just looking at the chat also.
Okay. Anyone else want to jump in about how much they're participating with their chapters or how they feel about that?
Well, this is Richard at Oklahoma State. I don't have the gold book, and they told me that because I have not yet personally been initiated, that I can't go to the initiation, and I'm not arguing with them, but is that true?
Richard, this is Kelly from Iowa State. That has been my, they essentially kicked me out of the room. I'm actually taking care of that and this semester and joining so that I can be a little bit more hands-on and not get kicked out of the room now that I've been doing this a couple of years. And so there is a, I'm not joining as a faculty member. It's something else, and I don't remember what the terminology is, but it's basically a very short process. I just show up to the end ritual time is what they told me. And so, because that was my apprehension in the beginning is, in addition to all the things we're doing right for work, memorizing and doing some of that stuff was a little daunting and sort of intimidating to myself. And so I'm hoping that actually helps things as well. And as I put in the comments, I'm somewhat hands off. I do a lot more checking with my president. And so we do probably every couple months, we'll have a one-on-one so that I know she is, she's got things under control, or is there something that I need to come in and, be advisor for, in the sense of if they're having issues and things like that. And we were virtual from the very beginning, and then we've been back on campus in person since the start of this semester. So.
Thanks.
I'll say hi. My name is Jeannie Gregory, and I'm from the University of Tampa. I am probably one of the people who are not actually a faculty member. I am actually a staff member at the University of Tampa. I'm also an alumni of my chapter as well. So I guess in the beginning, I was very hands-on with the chapter. Of course, when I took over as chapter advisor, because they couldn't find anybody to be their advisor, I was very hands-on because, of course, the chapter was also in guidance, on probation, and so forth. And as time has gone on, I've taken more so of a hands-back approach. But of course, this year I'm also trying to encourage them to find a faculty advisor, more so somebody in the College of Business, to help assist them, because I don't have as much free time, but I am always there to help and assist them. And I reach out to them via email, like I just reached out to them today, to make sure that somebody's attending the other webinar tonight regarding the chapter leadership funds. So if you haven't reached out to your chapter, remind them that they need to have somebody there tonight, because Founders Day is coming up soon.
I'll share. My name is Lisa. I'm with Cleary University. We're a smaller institution as well. We have about 700 students. The traditional students that we have are predominantly athletes. So our Phi Omega chapter, we currently have 6 members with about, we're going to be initiating 5 additional members. So we'll just be over, we'll be at 11. We do have myself as an advisor and 2 faculty honorary alumni, which is great. So we do have the support.